Shalom, brothers and sisters in Christ. It's Joshua Calvin. I'm going to talk about two visions I had about a heavenly experience. Okay, so my first vision was basically me waking up in my dream. I found myself standing in front of a wallpaper. What it looked like, the wallpaper was basically decorated in gold. So the whole wallpaper was made of gold, and and there were drawings on the wallpaper, sort of like mini baby angels drawings, basically made of gold. So like, if you can picture a wallpaper that just basically got patterns on it, but this patterns being mini, drawings of angels with, baby angels with wings, but then made of gold, painted in gold. The whole paper painted in gold. It was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. My mind could not even comprehend it. So this vision only lasted for about 2 seconds. So I remember in this vision, immediately, I basically just found myself standing in front of this wallpaper. I lost my breath instantly. And my jaw dropped. That's how beautiful what I was seeing was. I woke up feeling breathlessness, feeling like, wow, I can't believe what I just seen. Like, that was so beautiful. So I knew instantly, even in the vision and even after waking up, that I'd just seen the wallpaper of my mansion in heaven. Now, Christians, you may already be aware that the Bible talks about eyes have not seen, ears have not heard the things that the Lord has prepared for those that love Him. Okay, so moving on to my second vision. I found myself walking in the streets, in a beautiful street with mansions, so rows and rows of massive, big and beautiful mansions. And I'm just looking around like, wow, this house is so gorgeous, thinking, wow, whose houses are these? It never really occurred to me that at first that the dream was about, and the vision was about heaven, mansions in heaven. So there was this house, the very last house on that street. The house was massive, bigger than all the other houses. And there was a statue. So every house had a big gate. So this house had its gate. On the left-hand side of the gate was a massive statue, probably as tall as a house, that statue. So just to give you the context, right? So a statue of a lion, on the left-hand side of the gate. And this statue of a lion is probably as tall as an average-sized house. Just to give you context of how big this statue was. And if you start to think about how big this statue was, then you start to think about how big the gate was. When you start to think about how big the gate was, because the gate was a lot bigger than the actual statue of the lion. Okay? And when you start to think about that, then you start to think about how big the house must have been, right? On the right hand side of the gate was what I could only describe as, have you ever seen those Chinese serpents? You know, when the Chinese celebrate their New Year's, they tend to have this like colorful, big sort of like serpent, sort of with, you know, whatever. You've probably seen it before. If you haven't, just YouTube it or something, okay? Or Google it. What I saw on the right hand side of this gate was even bigger than the lion statue. Maybe like 3 times bigger than the lion statue. A serpent's head, you know, but it wasn't scary. It was just it looked more like a decoration. And then the body of the serpent was what was used as the fencing for this massive mansion. So the body sort of went round from the front into the sides, into the back, and all the way around again to the other side of the house to meet where the statue of the lion was. So that tells you how big this serpent was, this statue. Now, as I'm witnessing all this in the vision, I'm also understanding, you know, because I already knew this anyway in my waking life, what lion represents in the Bible and what a serpent represents in the Bible, you know. I'll describe that at the end of the vision. Now, the last thing I saw at the other end of this gate is like, I wanted to get into this house, but I couldn't quite get into the house. I saw this white horse. Yes, horse.
Lord God, that's our prayer.
The horse was probably 5 inches, 10, 11-ish. The horse would have been 10 foot tall. Beautiful white horse, 10 foot tall, minimum 10 foot tall. I can't say exactly how tall it was, but it was a lot bigger than what you would call an average horse on earth. I felt what I could see was a white horse, but the horse got closer to the gate, and there was this instant connection. This is where the vision started to sort of like make more sense to me, that it was concerning myself. The horse basically, it felt like there was a connection with the horse, like I knew this horse. And I remember looking at the horse and the horse looking at me, and there was this thing in its eyes that sort of just made me understand that, oh, finally I get to meet you. Finally I meet you again. You understand? Like someone that you've left for a long time, and finally they come back to you. Almost like, if for those that've got pets, like a typical example would be a dog, right? So you leave home, you come back home after a long day, your dog, there's that connection. Your dog is so pleased and so excited to see you back, and can't wait to sort of like get close to you, to, you know, jump on you so you can stroke it and whatnot, you know. That feeling you get is the feeling I had with that horse, and I felt like, oh, finally I'm seeing you again. The horse also felt the same way, and I tried to get close to the horse, and the horse came closer and was standing in the very front of the gate. And I stretched my hands through the gate, and I was trying to like touch it basically. And then as I was doing that, I looked closer. I couldn't quite reach close enough to touch the horse, but I looked close and I realized that actually this horse is actually made of white fur. Like its skin is was crystal, like made of crystal, see-through crystal. But then not just see-through crystal, I realized that actually what it had as a skin is in fact rainbows. So it's almost like an intricate woven of rainbow colors in squares, tiny squares, basically, tiny squares that basically like had strips going around them. So strips of like basically rainbow colors, but they were so tiny and so well woven that when you look at the horse from a distance, it just looks like a white horse. But looking a bit closer at it, you realize that actually there's nothing like this on earth. Like, this cannot be something to do with earth. This has to be a vision of heaven. And I realized that, wow, this is a vision of heaven. That horse gave it away. And I realized that actually, maybe this is trying to represent something for me in heaven. I'm not sure yet. If it is, glory be to God. But what I saw was the most beautiful thing ever, this horse, okay, and this beautiful mansion, okay. Now, let me explain to you what I already knew prior to the vision and what I was aware of, even in the vision, of what the representation of a lion, a serpent, and a horse means in the Bible. So for me, I understand that a lion in the Bible represents boldness. I also understand that a serpent in the Bible represents wisdom. Remember, in the Bible it talks about be as wise as a serpent and as gentle as a dove. So I knew and I know that serpents represent wisdom that can only be bestowed on us from our Father in heaven. And I also understand a horse in the Bible represents strength. So for me, my understanding of that vision is that that mansion that I saw is in fact what the Lord has prepared for me, what Jesus Christ has prepared for me. In the Bible it talks about, Jesus Christ talks about, in my Father's house are many mansions. I go there to prepare a place for you. If it wasn't so, I would not tell you so. So just to give you a bit of context, I believe I had this vision around about the time where I was doing research on the heavenly sort of experiences that people have had, you know. But I remember specifically about one Chinese man that basically I did research on online, and I watched the documentary. I can't remember his name, however, but just to basically like cut it short, this Chinese man basically was a real estate, was into real estate, and he made a lot of riches in real estate in China. And I remember watching this documentary, and he talked about how he was an atheist and he became very successful, blah 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 blah. And then he had this, I think, near-death experience where he basically he was shown a vision of heaven, and he saw houses being built, beautiful houses being built. And then he was asking, I think, the angel who was with about his house. He was like, oh, okay, because for him, his understanding was, oh, I've got so many beautiful houses on earth. I'm successful. What he expected to see was an even bigger and more beautiful house in heaven for himself, because he already had loads of them on earth. So of course you wouldn't expect less, you would expect more in heaven. And what he actually saw was a very tiny house being built. And he was asking this angel, hold on, how is that possible? Like, how come they have big houses and I don't? And I remember in the documentary I was watching, the response was, oh, you've not done nothing. Like, you've not built you've not done enough for the kingdom. Yeah, you're rich, but you know, there's nothing heavy, your treasures are not in heaven, your treasures are on earth. And that was an awakening for him. So anyway, he recovered from the near-death experience, and he came back and devoted his life into Christianity, became a believer, and he started to work for the kingdom. So this was the type of research I was doing around the time I had this vision. You understand? So I personally believe that whatever it is that you start looking into, whatever it is that it's sort of weighing on your heart to understand, the Lord will come and the Lord will give you clarity. And it may come in the form of a vision or a dream, or whatever it may be, but the Lord will come and the Lord will give you clarity concerning that thing, that your heart desires to understand. I'm the type of person that ever since I was a child, and ever since I've been growing up, I've always prayed that the Lord give me wisdom. Many Christians, growing up, pray for different things, and I get that. For me, I've always prayed for two things. I've always prayed for faith, and I've always prayed for wisdom, being as wise as Solomon. And the Lord, the Lord is faithful. The Lord gives you things, and He shows you things, and He answers your prayers according to His will. Again, before I end this video, I feel it's important to help people understand the difference between dreams and visions. Okay, they're not the same. Okay, so it's very important that you understand that, because that will give you a clarity whenever you experience a vision or a dream. When you go to sleep at night and you have an experience, it's not all supposed to be a dream, and it's not all supposed to be a vision. So it's good to be able to distinguish the difference. And the way you do that is, a dream is something that is not literal. Okay, it's symbolic. It means that it's probably a dream could represent a metaphor for something else. Okay, so you could have a dream concerning colors, concerning numbers, concerning objects, concerning places, whatever it may be, concerning certain words. It may just be that it's representing something else. And if after having that experience and you feel actually there's just no way that could have happened literally, it's more likely that you've just had a dream. So I'll give you an example of a vision. A vision could be that you go to sleep and you have a vision that someone that a loved one has fallen sick, and that you should pray for them, right? Okay, so you wake up and then you start to think about this individual, and then you start to pray for them, okay? And then you find out after some time, I don't know, a few days, weeks, whatever, that Joe Bluggs, your friend, your loved one, your family member, whatever they are, they sort of like, you find out that they were sick, and they had a very serious illness, and they were hospitalized for a long period of time, and they came out of hospital and recovered around about the time that you had that vision, because you had prayed essentially, and your prayers had been answered by the Lord, and that person was able to get out of hospital and recovered because of your prayers. You understand? So that would be a vision. You understand? So you've acted upon a vision that the Lord gave you, which was to pray for a loved one. So that would be the difference. Visions are more likely to happen as you've seen them. You could have a premonition, so you could go to sleep, have a vision that you were about to cross a street, but then you didn't look left and right, and then you got run over, God forbid, right? And then you wake up the next day thinking, wow, that was very scary, like, I don't want to be getting run over today. I don't want to be getting run over at all. You understand? So what you probably will do is you'd be more cautious. You'd look left and right in your waking life, you know, when you're up and about. So you might then find that, you know, maybe the next day you're walking and then you get to a street crossing, and then you look right and then you look left and then you look right and you look left, and then as you're about to cross, because you look to final time, a car just sort of came from the middle of nowhere, and because you looked, you were able to not cross at that precise second, that split second that you chose not to cross because you looked again. That car drove past and was not able to hit you. So you averted an accident because you were more cautious in looking left and right, because that was what the vision was intended for. Was intended to warn you about being mindful to look left and right, being cautious when you're crossing. You see, so some would say that's a premonition. It's not. For me, it's a vision that the Lord has given you to warn you. And visions are there sometimes to warn you, for you to act on and pray on, and dreams are more symbolic. So that would be the main difference. So very important to understand that, because God talks to us all the time in dreams and visions. You know, it's just that sometimes we don't perceive it. And the Bible talks about us not perceiving when the Lord is talking to us. So just be mindful, okay? Thank you, and God bless you. Shalom.
Lord God, that's our prayer.